All right. My name is Dr. Raj Gupta, and I am with two amazing, awesome people. One is Farrell, and other is Preston, and we are here for GuruCool Academy podcast. So, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Happy to be alive. Happy to be here. Just being present in the moment and just ready to rock and roll.
I'll tell you, today has been a really wonderful day. It happens to be the day after what would have been my mother's 75th birthday. So
Awesome.
I'm absolutely grateful to be here. I had a wonderful day celebrating her yesterday, and I plan to go out to dinner and do it again. So it's a great day.
Awesome. So I think we talked about creating some message where we can put some values to it, thought of the day. So Farrell had a very good quote today. He's gonna say it again. So what was that, Farrell?
Oh yeah. So the quote that I posted for Farrellism is that you should be proud of yourself and accept yourself, and there's no sense in being miserable or down about your life or where you're at. The beauty is things will always get better, even if you can't realize it, and you have to enjoy yourself. So be present in where you are and be thankful of where you've came from and be hopeful of where you can go, and don't worry about where you can go, because then you're going to waste that time of being present, and time is something of the essence that we cannot get back. So be present in what you're doing and just be hopeful of what's going on around you and what's going to happen, because we are the writers of our own destiny, and it all unfolds as we go along.
It's very true. Remind you that old saying that says that the present is actually a gift.
Present is actually
It really is.
Yes. That's why it is called present.
Yes.
Hence the term, yes. And just like, we're all here today, we could go to bed today and we may not be here tomorrow. So we have to act like each day is our last and make it so meaningful, because us being here, it's a gift, like you guys said, and we got to make the most of it.
I also say that your today is the outcome of yesterday. So if you want to make it better tomorrow, make sure your today is beautiful.
I like that one. My mom used to always tell me there are two things you can never do anything about: yesterday and tomorrow.
Exactly. Actually, my father, when we were in India, my father had written on the mantelpiece, never forget God and never forget death.
This is true.
That's good.
Always remember those.
And see, the other that's important too, if you worry so much about tomorrow, you forget about today. And something that's a really good example of that, my uncle was just telling me. So there was a guy, it's a story, he desperately wanted to know tomorrow's lottery numbers so that he could play and win. And so every time he would ask for help and he'd ask God, hey, let me have these lottery numbers. And he'd keep looking through the newspaper and he'd always never have the numbers. And then one day he's like, I have the numbers. But then he also flipped through the next page and he saw an obituary for himself. And so the moral of that is, you're not supposed to know what tomorrow is. Or another great saying from the movie Back to the Future is that Doc Brown, no one should know too much about their own destiny.
Right.
Because the essence of knowing what's going to happen changes how it happens.
This is very
Absolutely.
true.
And we are dealing with nowadays we're dealing with the conventional physics and the quantum physics, and the quantum physics actually takes us into so many amazing, beautiful things we don't even comprehend now. I think eventually we down the road we will be doing time travel and things like that based on that quantum physics. So I think a lot of quotation was on tomorrow. So Preston, what do you think tomorrow is?
Conceptually, I've always thought of that as the representation of goals. We've been accustomed and conditioned to set goals for ourselves. Of course, you're not going to get 100% of what your goals are done in today's space. So this is how we learn to start planning for tomorrow. I think that the concept of a tomorrow, though, going through the quarantine phase has changed for a lot of us. I think we've realized that tomorrow is quite an expensive concept. A lot of us didn't make it to tomorrow. A lot of us, can't even really imagine what tomorrow is going to look like, especially with the climate changes, our political things that are going on, the shifts in the world. Everything is so uncertain that I think everybody's concept of tomorrow has become a lot more precious to them. I think we're paying a lot more attention to what's going on in our exact realm, more so than trying to figure out tomorrow. I've seen a relax on that with a lot of people that I talk to.
Farrell, what do you think tomorrow is?
Well, before I get into that, I think it's an interesting concept to say, and I think another thing to add with that is, besides making tomorrow so much more precious through everything going on, it's also altered people's crosshairs on what they should have their eyes on, in the sense that, you know, during all this happening, people thought, oh, I can't go to the mall, or I can't do this, but the most simplest thing that maybe it took this for people to take more precious is human interaction. So as humans, we thrive on that interaction, just being able to go over, see our family, see our friends, or go out and socialize, and not being able to do that, that's something that people didn't realize how precious was until they couldn't do it. And that's another thing that we will now learn from all this to take, you know, not for granted. And
this is very true.
It's very important with that. And I think that ties into a lot of what tomorrow is. Tomorrow is a representation of what you make it. So it's like a blank slate. You have an idea of what you think tomorrow is, and then there's the reality of what tomorrow is. But as long as you do everything you want and are supposed to for yourself in today, it helps you get to tomorrow. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Each piece is dictated by what you do today, and it doesn't matter what the whole puzzle looks like, because it's going to be comprised of elements that you create. And so it's like you can't know the picture without having the pieces. So each day is creating the pieces. And so you just have to focus and put all the attention and detail in each piece, and not so much into the entire picture.
Agreed.
I believe that tomorrow is the moment, is the next moment, which is becoming today or now, just in a moment, and capture it before it becomes yesterday. Because tomorrow is really, we're not saying it's 24 hours later. We're saying in the next moment that we're jumping or it's passing by to become today, you know. And so capture it before it becomes yesterday, you know, or the past.
And people experience time differently too, because time really is fluid. So, I mean, if I'm done with my day today, I've heard a lot of people speak as though tomorrow has already begun. And I believe fully that for you, it has. But slow down, because I'm still on today.
Yeah. And I think that's another good thing to tie into this. And I don't know what it is. This quote's been coming up all week for me in different areas. Is from the movie Hitch with Will Smith. And it's something he said, was that life isn't about how many breaths you take. It's about how many moments take your breath away.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so with that, you think about it, each breath is represented by each day or each moment that you're living in. And so it's not about how many moments you have and live in. It's about how many of those moments are special and precious to you.
That's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. And I think we talked about being thankful, and gratitude. I think that's one of the most important things that helps you appreciate what we have in life, you know, whether it's a relationship or whether it's what we have around us, you know. So I think gratitude is the very, very key factor that kind of makes your today beautiful.
As a matter of fact, I try to make sure that every day I write in my journal the one thing, at least one thing that I'm thankful about. Today, it just so happened to be that I'm thankful that I am from a generation that remembers what it was like to live before this. Because I was talking to my nieces and nephews, and when I tell you their thought process and their reality, I can't connect with it. They're in this box that this life has created right now. They don't know anything else because they're too young. The masks are not weird to them. Right. And like, I remember when I was a kid, if you put a mask on and tried to go in the store, they were going to arrest you. That's just what was going to happen. Right. Now, if you don't put the mask on, they're going to arrest you.
Yeah.
Like, I also had to explain to them how weird it is to have interviewed for a job, and I've never seen any of those people's faces in Macy's. None of them. None of them. Not the person I report to, not anybody who's standing next to me. I have no idea if any of them walked up on me on the street I would, oh, so that's what you look like. That's weird for me. It's not weird for them. They're like, oh, who cares what people look like?
Right.
Okay, well, in a certain way, I'm also grateful for that, because I think that also plays with that whole rainbow coalition thing. Like, you shouldn't be looking at people for what they look like and who they are anyway. But it's still weird to me. It's weird.
Yeah.
And it's weird that they don't think it's weird. They're like, this is normal. No, it's not.
And I agree with you on two of those things, because, at least for me, so working in more of a headquarters location and now being back in like a smaller office, to me, the normal there is not the normal here. So I'm used to being able to like go into anybody's office, no matter how high up they are, and just saying hi. And here it's just so like, wait, you can't just do that. You have to go through a certain process. But it's nice to see that the head of the office that I work for is very friendly enough that he doesn't care about that, even though everybody else does. Mm-hmm. So he'll come over and like, he'll say hi, and I'm like, how are you doing? And because I like being friendly with everybody. To me, rank or position, I don't see that. And I don't say, hey, I need to go talk to someone higher up for a reason. It's just because I'm a very friendly person. And so that's weird to me too.
Right.
And the funny thing when you say about like generational thing about growing up before all this, I was also saying a few days ago how I'm thankful that I was one of the last generations that grew up before this started.
Right.
All these cell phones and like when I was a freshman in high school, that's when Facebook was starting. And like even now, people like me, I find myself succumbing to this, and I'm trying to like limit my phone. That's why I don't go on social media that much, other than for my parallelisms and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I just like interacting with people. Like I call my friends. I don't like to text all the time. When I'm going on dates or I'm like talking to a girl, I like to actually call them. And if they don't want to, go on an actual date, then I'll say, let's do a video date, because I don't like texting.
Right.
Because you get lost in it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very impersonal, and it's left open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Whatever emotion has landed on your head, you're going to see in all of these words, and it's not necessary. It's better to talk, but we've moved away from talking. And even I can say, like, my nieces and nephews, they don't necessarily text a lot, but that PlayStation interaction thing is like, it's taking the place of playing.
Yeah.
It's
like an emotionless talking or communication.
Absolutely.
It
doesn't have any form, no format. I mean, think about it. At least for me, when I was a kid, like, it was important that please and thank you were at the beginning and ends of your statements. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I don't hear people raising their kids like that anymore. And you hear your kid talking like this on that microphone on PlayStation, and you're doing something else, ignoring them.
Yeah.
So they think that's okay.
Yeah.
But if they talk to you like that, you wouldn't be okay with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that part. I'm still trying to. I'm praying over it.
Certain norms.
See, when you're working on the phone has an autocorrect. Like a lot of people are actually forgetting spellings now.
This is true.
Just because it's autocorrect. But in relationship, there is no autocorrect. We don't have time to correct the kids or ourselves or the people around it. There's no autocorrect. So we in relationship, I think we are just going wherever, these phones and social media per se is taking us.
I think it's also important to note too that societal norms have changed too. Like, so, different times, one of the parents might have been home raising their kid, and now it's kind of forced that both parents have to work, and they don't get that interaction as much anymore. And certain things that are custom that people might be used to don't happen anymore, and newer generations of people find it weird. Like, for example, I'm one of those people that love to say hi to someone new every day, and like my friend or my mom might even say, hey, you don't have to say hi to everybody. Like, why are you saying? I like doing it, and I catch people off guard. They'll either be really confused or they'll be happy that I did it because, and I actually like to do some social experiences. So some of the experiments that I did, I said, all right, let me act like I'm in trouble and I like hurt myself or like I needed help. And how many random bystanders would come over and sit, or you're in a setting like you're in a bookstore or you're like at a bar and you're just there. Everybody's on their phones and they're so worried on their, no one comes and talks to people. Like, we live in such a big world and so diverse that we should be able to talk to anybody, and people are either afraid to or they're stuck on their phone. And what's the use in that? It's like we're wasting time going through life not talking to one another.
Let's be real. The phone allows you to hide a lot of stuff that you don't want people to know you're into.
Seriously. And you know what's funny about that? That's why I hate online dating, because you never make it to the first date. There's so much excuse to get you off and never get to the first date, and I think that that's harmful. And there's this term that they use when someone stops talking to you just for no reason. They call it ghosting.
Yep.
And it's so weird to me, because I'm one of those people that when if I meet someone on one of those, I'm like, hey, let's go on a date. When are we planning this? Because I don't want to get lost in there, because like we just were talking about, time, you can't get it back, and it's an investment. So clearly people are on these things for a reason.
Yeah.
So if you're not intentionally ready for that, or you're invested in it, then why even bother?
Oh, because everybody else is doing it. That's it. It's like a Me Too thing. Oh, you're on there? Oh, I should log in. And then once you log in, you're hooked. That's it. You're in there. They got you in their algorithm. You're rolling around. They're going to figure out what is something that I can keep you pressing buttons. As long as you can press something, I got you. Okay, you like that? I'm going to send you more.
Like The Social Dilemma on Netflix. That movie was literally that.
Yes. That's
I think other thing is I see that in relationship, we are so much into these apps and things like that. They are matchmaking apps, right? They pick your criteria, and whoever is around you, their criteria, and those criteria are like what? We just type a few things and they become your criteria.
They're
they
forcing
define
connection.
you.
Yeah.
They define you, and that's where the matchmaking is software driven, is not emotion driven, where you can sit down, talk to people, and figure out what that person is.
Because for example, if someone's on an app right now and they see this person, who knows if they even read the bio that they write, but they look at the picture and are like, nah, I wouldn't date them, and they just swipe off of them. However, if you met that same person in real life, whether you bump into them or, this doesn't happen anymore, but you spill coffee on them, something like that, or you start talking, what they look like won't matter so much as what they have to say. And that's the problem with these apps. You never get to that point, and it's almost backwards, and that's not a healthy way to build a connection. You're forcing a connection through an algorithm.
Yeah.
I really believe most people believe that 90% of what they read in those apps are not true anyway. Like, you are giving me the 24-karat gold version of yourself,
right,
and that doesn't really exist. So I'm just going to ignore that. Let's look at the pictures. Right. And
it's the meaning, and it's just detrimental.
That is a highlighted resume of you, not actual reality.
This is true. It is the resume version. The good parts.
The good part.
Right. And that's even if because some of that stuff just plain old made up, right? Like, there's nobody online that's not lying about something. Somebody, it's something you left out, either an actual lie or a lie of omission that you left out because if you knew that before you actually know me, you might not like it. So I'm going to save this piece for after I know you like me.
Whereas if you meet someone in real life and you build a connection and then that comes out, you've already invested in that person, that you're willing to accept them for that.
Very, very different.
But I think, we always should keep hope. We should always think about today, once again, I think connecting somebody emotionally is the key, because that can be so addicting. You have probably been in love, the first love, how you are like deeply, your all the hormones, your all the neurotransmitters are flowing to the fullest. You can get that, with simply loving or emotional sense. When you connect with someone, that can bring all that happiness. When we connect with the phone, talk to other people, we get a lot of pleasure. And Farrell, we talked about different dimensions of life, but pleasure is not happiness. We confuse with pleasure and happiness, but happiness is when you really connect with people around you, with love and there's emotions, the feeling attached. I think that can bring a lot of happiness. What do you think, Preston?
Well, I mean, at a very basic level, I think that is extremely important. It's a building block for almost everything else, because if you're not basically happy, there's no foundation, and that house is going to blow back and forward, sway, all of that stuff. The thing, though, now I see a shift, because I do a lot of networking events. I talk to a lot of people, and the overwhelming consensus when we get to this part of the conversation is, well, like, my relationships have changed because of COVID. I'm seeing all of my immediate people way too often, and everybody else not enough.
Right.
And so it puts pressure on your relationships with people who either live in your home or who live close enough to visit with you. You're seeing them all the time. And then the people that you actually want to see and can't, there's an angst created there, which like you start thinking to yourself, like, I wish I could replace you with this person. Why can't you go live over there and send her over here with me, right? And all of that is causing unnecessary conflict. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't have the right tools. And we don't even realize that we're participating in part of the problem.
Yeah. I think, and that's what I always thought about. You know, when we go to school, we are studying maths, we're studying science, we're studying chemistry and stuff. How much is that useful in our life, in reality, where we're dealing and need that emotional control and connection? I think, and that's where we are. All of us are working on this GuruCool Academy now to create the valuable relationship that to grab the tools early that we can utilize and create amazing relationships.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I'm glad you guys both brought that up, because I know one thing I was just talking on my other podcast about is that you have different dimensions of your built up of your life. So you have the time that you spend with your immediate family, you have the time you spend with your friends, you have the time that you want to spend on your own, and then you have the time that you might spend with a significant other or, just go dating. And when you're missing one of those, let's say you can't see your family, you're missing a component that now you're putting more pressure in another area, and it's just throwing your entire cycle off.
Try to compensate.
Yeah.
But let's say that the amount that you need to really compensate is not available. That you're just pulling on something that's not there.
And that's what's creating codependency.
Yep.
I think we touched a lot of beautiful and amazing topics today, and we are hoping that our listeners will love it, enjoy it, and will wait for our next podcast. So, thank you very much, everyone.
No, thank you.
It was a pleasure. Always happy to, make a difference in someone's life.
Awesome. So, any quote, Farrell, to end it up?
I would say, don't worry about outside expectations. Be you, be happy, be present, and just focus on the path in front of you.
So today, I think I would like to say your greatness is your responsibility, regardless of what else is going on around you that may be chaotic. Continue to be great.
And I would say the second law of my book, The Briefcase Life, carry what matters the most, that you are the most important person in your life and you have right to be happy. So make everything possible, put yourself on the highest pedestal and enjoy your life, and we will see you guys again. Thank you very much.